this is the most recent news about her being put on S-Watch, and I want you guys to take a look at some of these details that I have right after it, because again, it's really interesting that this news is coming out and the same details surrounding this were also reported about Jeff E. And muchachos y muchachas. Okay, so I know that this is about a day or two old, about Ghislaine Maxwell, and she is allegedly being put on S-Watch right now. And I wanted to point something out very significant and interesting that was reported about her counterpart, Jeff Epp. You know who I'm talking about, right? Now, the interesting thing about this is that Ghislaine is saying that she is not S-word. Like, she's not feeling the S-word at all or anything like that. And I find this reminiscent of something that I've covered before. So let's go straight to it. Now, I want to take you guys back a week ago. It was reported, and I think it has been reported before this, but I know this is Newsweek, but it was reported that there was allegedly some sort of price tag on her and, you know, getting some sort of street cred from, you know what I mean? Some out of here. So it says here, Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyers say inmate threatened her to make her, you know, pass for money. And it said, I'm going to go straight to it. Court filing seen by Newsweek read, just recently, Miss Maxwell was the target of a credible D threat from a fellow inmate. On information and belief, on one of the female inmates, Miss Maxwell's housing unit told at least 3 other inmates that she had been offered money to, you know what, off Miss Maxwell, and that she planned to do something in her sleep. The inmate who made the threat has been moved to SHU, Special Housing Unit, presumably to protect Miss Maxwell. Okay, so that already was a report coming out about a week ago surrounding Maxwell. So this is the most recent news about her being put on S-Watch, and I want you guys to take a look at some of these details that I have right after it, because again, it's really interesting that this news is coming out and the same details surrounding this were also reported about Jeff E. And I don't think it made bigger headlines than it did, but it was pretty prominent information that I found. Now, they're saying that it's basically her lawyer saying, hey, you know, can you take her off of S-Watch because, you know, she can't prepare for her sentencing and she's going to be sleep deprived and all these little excuses. It says if Miss Maxwell remains on S-Watch, is prohibited from reviewing legal matters prior to sentencing, becomes sleep deprived, and is denied sufficient time to meet with and confer with counsel, we will formally be moving on Monday for an adjournment, Sternheim's lawyer said to Judge Allison Nathan said Saturday. Now, they say that they evaluated Maxwell and they basically concluded that she was not, you know, S-word. She wasn't feeling S-word about doing that to herself. But sentencing comes nearly 3 years after the co-defendant. You know, she was convicted after that. Now, in a reply to Sternheim's letter, which is her lawyer, and if you guys are not familiar with the entire case, I covered the entire trial. You guys, I do have a playlist I believe I created on my channel. It was the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. If you're interested in all of that, I went extensively, day by day, I covered it. So I do urge you guys, there are some details in there. I mean, people say that nothing came out of that trial, but there definitely are details. I would urge you to go watch that playlist. Now, okay, so Sternheim being her lawyer, and we're going to get to the rest of those sketchy details that are parallel with Ghislaine and Jeff. But first, I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, Fighter Flare Flashlight. And this, you guys know, is my go-to at the border when I'm operating. It's got high, low, strobe, and then it's got its features here, right? And aside from that, it's got a sound repellent at the bottom, rope cutter, glass breaker. God forbid you ever need it, but if you do, it'll be there. You can also charge your phone in the back, as well as it is solar powered. So this is a great tactical flashlight. You can get one at fighterflareflashlight.com. Thank you so much, Fighter Flare, for sponsoring this video. Maxwell's lawyer, in a reply in a letter on Sunday, said that federal prosecutors said that Maxwell had been put on S-Watch in part because she had been reporting to the jail. She had reported to the jail's administration that the facility staff were potentially saying threatening stuff to her, and the lockup staff put her on S-Watch to remove her from the facility's regular population while it investigated Maxwell's claims. Now, here's the weird part, right? Here's the weird part. Like, why put her on S-Watch and not isolation, right? Like, I guess it would be the same thing if they were trying to do what we're alleging that they're going to try to do to her, the same thing that what happened to Jeff. But it says here that also because convicted S offenders are generally at higher risk of self-harm, prosecutors said in their letter. Now, okay, that's strange, right? Because it's like, all right, they're already saying she's not feeling S word to herself. She wouldn't commit S word to herself, but they're still going to put her on S word because generally people like her do want to do that. And of course, they're going to cite the happenings of Jeffrey, right? They're going to cite, oh, well, this happened to him. He did this to himself, which we're all like, really? So that's that. And I think that's the bigger detail out of all this is that, she's not feeling like she's going to do that to herself. Now, this is the part that I want to bring to your attention. This was reported in November of last year. And again, this did not make a lot of headway or headline or a lot of attention on social media. I did make a video on this. I am going to link it or right here somewhere, or actually it might be on the way other side, but it'll be a little link at the top. But this was reported and it made no headline, nothing. But I found it pretty significant. Jeffrey Epstein told jail psychologists that being alive is fun before S-word. Before this one, S-word. All right. And it says here that Jeff E. repeatedly denied being S-word to himself in the weeks before. You guys know what happened in 2019, and even told when psychologists being alive is fun, according to a newly released prison records. Now, new details surrounding Jeff E.'s staying at the facility and his final days, Manhattan's Metropolitan Correctional Center, are detailed in more than 2,000 pages that New York Post, this particular news outlet, obtained by a FOIA. Now, Jeff E., who was at the time awaiting trial for the same thing that Ghislaine Maxwell was on trial for, he avoided being put on S-Watch at least twice during his 36-day detention after prison psychologists who assessed him found that he should remain under psychological observation. Instead, the documents show. One psychologist wrote in her notes in July 9th S-risk evaluation that Epstein adamantly denied being in any sort of S-word ideation, intention, or plan, meaning that he said verbatim that he was not that. And also the psychologist was also assessing that he was not that either. She added that Jeff E. told her that being alive is fun and described himself as a banker with big business. He was future oriented, the psychologist wrote in her notes. And I think this part is big. When somebody is future oriented, that's a big indication that, and it's not always the case, right? I'm not discrediting the S word or people who have done that to themselves who might have been future oriented. But generically, when people are they talk about the future, or even someone as evil as Jeff E., who is optimistic about their outcome, they generically don't look forward to doing that to themselves, right? And I'm not saying that's always the case. I'm just saying, like, this guy repeatedly said things like this to indicate that he was not feeling the S word to himself. After Epstein's request to be moved to a single cell was denied, a psychologist wrote in a note dated July 11th that he was smirking and said, "Why would you ever think about being S-word to yourself? I am not S-word, and I would never be. Would never be. Yeah, I would never be." Epstein continued to deny having S-word thoughts, even after he tried to, they report that he tried to do that to himself July 23rd. Of course, who knows, right? Who knows? Now, the only reason why I attribute, like, some of this as a form of parallel between Ghislaine Maxwell and him is because these are correspondence. These are law documents, right? Or I'm sorry, these are what are they? Federal Bureau of Prison Records. So these are actual records, right? So there's an actual accounting aside from the surveillance and all that giving out. So it continues on. When he underwent another S-word evaluation July 31st, the psychologist wrote that he lives for and plans to finish his case and go back to his normal life. He was only placed on S-watch after his initial attempt, but it was removed after the 31 hours he was placed under observation. So, and then they talk about the roommates or his cellmates talking about him and, well, you know, I'll genericize it because I don't want to go too much in depth, but it says psychologists and the inmates monitoring Jeff E. noted at various times that he had complained about running toilet in his cell, his difficulty sleeping, being dehydrated, and his right arm going numb. And conversations with the cellmates, they say that Jeffrey E. was speaking of socializing with celebrities, escorts, along with according to the documents, and he says, Epstein and I are talking about escort business, an inmate noted, before writing an hour later, Epstein and I are talking about arbitrage. And then Epstein is talking about celebs he knows. So, I mean, again, it doesn't give any context to say that he was talking or thinking about doing that to himself. And I think that that part is pretty significant because if Ghislaine Maxwell, essentially, it's kind of like playing out in parallel, only that with this guy, right? We only learned this after the fact that of what was reported. Oh, he did this to himself. And, you know, these documents were only obtained by FOIA request per New York Post. Now, this is being reported about Ghislaine Maxwell before the sentencing, before anything is happening, right? So this is what I guess gets my feelers up about this, right? I think it's significant enough that she is being put on S-watch, but the fact that this is so parallel to Jeffrey E. After the fact, we're finding out that he repeatedly said that he was not S-word, you know, feeling S-word all. S-word idol. You know, this is just, it's just a repeated pattern. And that's what I wanted to indicate. I don't see anybody else talking about this particular instance or this parallel. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. Guys, what do you think in the comments below about this? Obviously, there's something brewing going on. There's something brewing up to the surface, and we're just going to have to, unfortunately, watch and see what comes out of this. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you in the next video.